A crap guide to Final Fantasy XIV Ranged DPS by JoCat. Not my preferred, in all honesty. I mean, I do like the concept of where Archer and Bard is going. It's just one of those, like, I like it, I dig it, but I haven't quite delved too deep into it. But I've delved into other classes, right? Black Mage 90, Red Mage 90, Samurai Dragoon 60, doing consistent alliance raids. Like, I have a better understanding of how the game is shaped. So I'm very curious what JoCat has to say about ranged DPS and what I'm potentially missing.
I'm partnering with GamerSups.
Amazing.
If you want to try out some tasty energy drink flavors, you can get some free samples, and they even ship worldwide. If you like it and want more, use the code JoCat for 10% off.
I love it. It's perfect.
Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of being counted on to do complex tasks that involve more than it takes to eat a bowl of mushy cereal. In fact, I don't even feel motivated to hear what my allies need of me. I'm just gonna sit all the way away.
Could you please use Peloton? The amount of times I've actually been in a party and I forget that ranged DPSs can use Peloton because I really never play ranged DPS. I have a lot of other things that I play, but I hardly see ranged DPSs popping Peloton. So I forget it's an ability in the game. Then again, I had people pop into stream and be like, wow, Kip, you're actually not bad at healing. And I'm like, I really feel like I am. I can't have regen up 100% of the time on people. And they're like, what? What? You can do that? I don't know. Healer's just a role. I don't know. It's interesting.
Over here, enjoying my lucky charms.
Yes.
Alone. And if things go wrong, I'll have to rely on the ever-reliable American method. I already see absolutely no negative consequences. Welcome to a crap guide to Final Fantasy. I'm sick of having to dodge so many up-close AoEs. The boss keeps doing them, and I have to keep moving away to avoid
Emerald Weapon does exist in the game. Neat.
getting splatted. And then I have to resort to the equivalent of throwing marshmallows that will scratch the enemy about as hard as a massage therapist with germophobia. I'm trying to beat them.
Joke's on you, unless you're Monk, because we have no, at least as far as 50's concerned. As far as I'm aware, Monk doesn't get any sort of ranged attacks. So Monk is one of those interesting physical DPSs, because, like, you have to close in that gap. You have to be able to punch something. Whereas, like, Samurai, right, I can just NP. Whereas if I'm, usually it's on my 5-bar, like the Blade Beam, right? Or if you're Dragoon, right, you just have your, whatever your lance is, right? You usually have that bound to 7. Yeah, cool, you can just ranged hit people. Not in the case of poor old Monk.
Them into submission, not soften their tenders. What's that I hear you say? There's an option to give me the ability to do max deeps even when I'm disconnected from the boss like an internet provider out in the country? Of course there is. I was just getting to it, and I'll thank you not to interrupt me again. The physical range DPS, or just range for short. Physically throwing my spleen into the splattering range of the knee.
What if I stab but far away? That, you know, it's a meme question. Like, I know it's meant to be satire, but that really is... It's the evolution at its finest of, like, warfare. This is how the arms race happens. How do we just throw the rock harder? How do we throw the rock farther? How do we penetrate class 5 plates with the rock? Mandatory fancy hat. I mean, that's mandatory. Mandatory legs. If your HDPS remembers, Peloton exists. Speed, see Peloton. Support in disguise. Yeah, I could see that. Coolest limit break animations, don't at me. No, I think he's onto something here.
Near semi for long is the more mobile and forgiving cousin of the melee, and is the most important person in the party since you are the least likely to get a commission in the end. And we thank you for providing such a valiant service, as there always needs to be someone in last place. Your role is all about keeping your uptime going, and although yes...
I love that all of the Morbles in the game have really, like, interesting sussy names. Like, they have, like... How do I word this within YouTube TOS? Like, they just have, like, S-er names. That's how I'm going to word it. S''ER. That's the one. You'll just see, like... I can't think of an example off the top of my head. But, like, and you look at a Morble in 14... Capricious Cassie, thank you, Tamsin. That is just the ongoing joke with the Morbles. It's so good. Wait, Vezeth the Suck?
perhaps every other role is also about trying to do that, you have absolutely no excuse for messing up. The gimmick of the ranged DPS is that you don't have to worry about any positionals or cast times and can run around the arena like an indecisive artist in a Hobby Lobby. You get to stay at a safe distance, and if there's ever a pissy puddle underneath your feet, moving out of the way won't risk you doing suboptimal damage. So what's the catch? Nobody gets off scot-free in this game, as all roles have their stonks and stinks. Tanks have the responsibility of dancing with—
I'm sorry, wait, what was that for White Mage?
Nobody gets off scot-free in this game, as all roles have their stonks and
HP for Days Paladin, God White Mage, BCat Black Mage. Yeah, it's fitting that as a Black Mage main, my model is over the Black Mage that says BCat Estinian. So about that. So when I first saw Estidian, I confused Armad because he's like he was watching me play, right? And then after, and I mean, he's like, wait, what character did you just meet? Yeah, I met Eisenstein. I mean Eisenstein. Yeah, Eisenstein, like the the Einstein parody from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. And he just looks at me and goes, "You mean Estinian, the Azure Dragoon?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I can't read. It's fine." So that's my story with Estinian. You're welcome. And then fashion, yeah, that makes sense.
Stinks. Tanks have the responsibility of dancing with the boss. Healers have to share gear models with the magic DPS that have been dyed white. And you—
It's okay. It's my NA education, baby. NA education all the way.
You will have to suffer the nail-pulling drawback known as the ranged tax.
Oh no.
For the fact that you have nearly no limitations on your mobility, your damage will be on average slightly less than both the melee and magic DPS jobs. And hell, sometimes even some tanks with their openers that'll put down bosses faster than PETA when it finds a stray. The ranged tax, although real, will make a tiny droplet of difference in the grand scheme of things, and if you pick a ranged job and feel as though you're being outdone by your peers, odds are you are probably doing badly anyway, and the reason you have trouble jumping over that hurdle is just because your toes were too big and floppy that you would have tripped over every single one so badly anyway. Discovery Channel would decide to make a show about whether or not you're real. Let me summarize.
I mean, so there is the argument as well that I do make, and this is more relevant in like endgame content. Like if you're doing like a Stormblood raid, Shadowbringer raid, Endwalker raid, or even Variant Dungeons, right? You generally, when you're popping your limit break, you want your physical melee DPS to do it. And obviously, if a physical melee DPS isn't in there, whether you're in an instance, whether you're in a dungeon, etc., generally that goes to your ranged DPS and then followed by your magical DPS, as far as I'm aware. Limit break, I think, is, if I heard it correctly, it's negligible technically. Where yes, it's 5%. 5% of 10 million, right, is still 5% of 10 million, right? But as long as you're doing damage, if you're within the proper ranges, it really technically doesn't matter which DPS pops limit break, from my understanding. I'd be very interested to hear the Endwalker raid groups and Dungeoneering chime in on that in the comments.
If you do bad, it's a skill issue. Nevertheless, the same rules as any role applies in the fact that you should stay out of the piss puddles wherever possible. Even more so, considering you're wearing Heelys and by all rights should be able to avoid any and every possible puddle and be the nicest smelling at the party, which is important because the healers only have so much nasal tolerance. Lucky for you, each range also has a bottle of perfume to spray that will at least mask the piss smell a bit. The final shared utility in the belt of the Black Man is the limit break, which although does not do as much single target damage as the melee, has the benefit of being able to hit multiple targets in a line like a really violent high-five surfer. The range roster—
Actually, on that subject, I learned... What was I doing? I was doing some sort of dungeon, and it was Gauis, actually. I was playing Praetorium, right? And Gauis at the end. I didn't actually know this until literally like 2 days ago, that if you're a ranged DPS and you line up right, you can actually limit break 2 of the Gauis clones. And it's not like you necessarily even need limit break for Gauis specifically, because his big hit is after Phantom Gauis have been dealt with or have not been dealt with. It's kind of like when you go to... I had to learn Chrysalis because I only did that once, and now I had to go learn it the second time. Kind of like in Chrysalis when you're fighting Neobralis, how you have to DPS the, what was it, the Void Tier or whatever. Very good. Interesting use of limit break, by the way. It's very interesting to see that that's actually how people use limit breaks in other ways in the game. But, like, man, it's great because the ranged DPS can actually come in clutch and line up multiple shots on that.
Is a trio of performers, each one skilled in a different charismatic art, and each one a different flavor of slutty. First is the bard, where your bow is your harp. Also, your harp is your harp, because with this job, you get a bunch of instruments you can play, including these obnoxiously loud drums.
Bongo?
You are one of the few jobs with the endangered species known as the damage over time skill, and your main attack involves firing a single arrow repeatedly until a bigger, cooler arrow gets jealous and sometimes...
we see one of the only classes with a DOT until Green Mage comes back. I'm making that projection. Because if it comes back, I know it's gonna piss my entire playgroup off. Because they're gonna be like, Kip, how did you call Green Mage? It's not gonna happen, right? Let's be real. My bet's on Green Mage for Dawn Trail.
Asks to be fired too, but not all the time because it's not like it likes to be shot or anything.
No, it doesn't.
You also have a bunch of songs to play that will make everyone in the party hear a remix of their opening theme. And everybody knows when the opening kicks on, you deal more damage. Because you're the one playing them, you also get your own special benefits, you filthy, dirty performer, you. A song that sometimes lets you shoot more arrows when it feels like giving you some, a song that makes you shoot faster, and a song that lets you shoot more arrows when it feels like giving you some, but a little bit different. All this arpeggios to a crescendo into a grand finale where you fire a big ol' arrow. And if you've played all your songs, you have the ability to face roll your piano and startle your party into doing even more damage. I said hit harder! No, hold on.
So hear me out. Or I could play Black Mage. It's still a DPS role. It's not physical range, but it's still a DPS role.
One of those notes there, partner. Masaka. For the Machinist's main attack, it uses a gun. The most selfish of the range classes, where the name of the game is... And the name is labeled on a box called Your Doom being shipped to the enemy at terminal velocity. What you sacrifice in
your Amazon packages are right.
Party buffs you make up for in big having 3 giant bullets and a bunch of smaller, higher frequency bullets. Doing your normal 1, 2, 3 will get your gun very hot and bothered until it's riled up enough to rapid fire its red hot goodness. And if you make sure to toss your special toy into the mix, it can end in an explosive finish. Keep up that momentum and eventually you can even invite your queen to join in the fun. Hey, I hear she's got multiple frequency settings. All this might
That was awful, and I loved everything about that. That was nothing short of perfect.
make you feel like you're not contributing as much, but no need to be nervous. Lucky for you, this job comes with extra protection. But you are not some simpleton who can be won over by some flashy lights and pretty songs. You want passion, romance, a partner who can live up to your standards. The dancer foregoes buffing the entire party or focusing on doing its own damage and instead picks one party member, one extra special, extra spicy, extra sexy partner in crime to give a super buff in damage in the form of 2 extra flashy minigames of Simon Says. And then you
remember, always pick your dance partner, because apparently there's dancers that go into content and don't pick their dance partner.
do a little bit of blending and sending the bodies flying. They're dying to birdies that give them birdies. And afterwards, it's just a matter of praying to RNGesus to bless your twinkle toes, because from there, it's all coin flips all the time. Your rotation is a 1 and a 2 that can coin flip into a 3 and a 4. And both of those can coin flip into either a single target or AoE 5, which itself is a coin flip into a possible 6. And once you're in rhythm, your spinnies will kill them, then dance in the wind like that million ribbons, and kicking and flipping their carrions into your allies so they can annihilate all that's left. Yay, now they're dead. And now you know how to play ranged. You're welcome.
I'll probably pick up Dancer at some point. I hear it's pretty easy to pick up. I mean, honestly, Bard's been kind of the one. Like, it makes sense. Yeah, you're a heavy shot. Sometimes it gives you a thing. Just generally, I've just used it for making sure the debuff is up, right? The poison arrow and stuff. And obviously, this transitions in from Archer into Bard, and I haven't had too much of Bard under my belt. But really, it comes down to... I hear Dancer's pretty approachable. I'll probably try Dancer. Choosing dance partner, like making sure I have that, the buff up. Just choose the tank. No, but realistically, though, whenever I play healer, I've generally been hugging my tank. So I might actually transition over to Dancer just in 14. But I digress. I mean, I'm one of those people that has, I don't know, I kind of get bored with ranged melee, ranged DPS. What are your thoughts on it? Is it your favorite form of DPS? Do you think that, it doesn't do much damage difference than magic DPS? Do you think that it does more? What are your thoughts on an endgame content? Let me know in the comment section, all that fun stuff, and I will see you in the next